Hi there. Welcome to Pateo Television. My name is Johan Oldenkamp. I'm the host of this presentation show. Last Monday I did a show about the events that shocked us big time. First of all, the massacre in Orlando, Florida, USA on June the 12th, and then later the alleged murder of Jo Cox in Bristol, West Hampshire in the United Kingdom of June the 16th. And the video I did on that, I explained a lot of details already, but in this video I will give an update because there is more to share. It's now, by the way, June 23rd, about 4 p.m. London time, UK time. So the referendum on Brexit or not exit is still going on, and I don't know what the result will be. There is no prognosis either, but at the end of this video I will come back to that. Yeah, so let me switch off my camera. In that video, the previous one, you can easily find it on YouTube. If you've not seen it via my website or my YouTube channel, just type in this code and then you get it immediately. That was recorded on June 20th, so last Monday, or Monday of this week actually. And it was about this event in Orlando. And most clearly this was a false flag attack, and it is not what the mainstream media tells us it was. And the same is true for the events later on, just 4 days later in the middle north of United Kingdom, yeah, in West Yorkshire. And we know now that, for one thing, is sure that he did not shout it Britain first, for instance. He did not have any political motive either. And we can even question if this man was at the scene, because the story gets more and more remarkable. And yeah, most likely she was not killed either. It was all fake, as I explained in the previous episode. Because it is very remarkable that the face of this man that was apprehended or arrested, allegedly Thomas Meer, is blurred. Why was his face blurred? We can clearly see the faces of the two so-called police officers that were arresting him. So what is going on here? And even in the video that is available, we see a kind of bandage around his head. What is the meaning there for? Was he injured on his head? And how did this come then? So that's very remarkable. We cannot see a clear face, so we cannot say if he was really Thomas Meer. But we can look at his arms, and there we see there are no tattoos. Well, this picture of Thomas Meer clearly shows tattoos. So were these not real tattoos, or were the tattoos removed? And some even say this man is not as thin, as skinny as this man. He is clearly a skinny man. So this is most certainly not Thomas Meer. And all the drawings that we saw from courtroom, we don't see the arms, so the arms are covered. Maybe they were tight, I don't know what's happening here. But all these drawings of him show his face, but do not show his arms. So this is to me proof that the man apprehended in the video was not Thomas Meer. And what about the so-called hero of that event, named Bernard Kenny? He allegedly tried to rescue Jo Cox from her attacker, and he was not successful because allegedly Jo Cox died, and he even got a knife in his abdomen. So he was paying a big penalty for being so brave. And now people say he's a hero, and they want to give him a kind of honorary medal for that. And it turned out that in 1973 he was already a hero. Then he tried to rescue people who were locked in a mine. So the mining disaster, and 7 people died, if I'm correct. So he was already a hero, and now he became a hero twice. Isn't that remarkable? And even more remarkable, pointed out by some people on the internet, is that a man died and he seemed to have the very same name. Because Kenny is the last name and the surname, and Bernard is then his first name. So Bernard Kenny died as well. And that happened in 2013, January 21. And he was then 75 years, which means that he was born in either 1937 or 1938. And some say that Bernard Kenny, the hero, the so-called hero, was born in that same year, or almost the same year, 1938. And some even say that his date of birth was June 22. And if that is true, I could not find any confirmation for that, but if that is true, that's very remarkable, because that's the same birth date as Jo. Helen Joan Leadbeater. That was her name when she was born. But then she later married Mr. Cox. So did they have the same birthday? That would be very remarkable. The hero and the victim. What are the odds? And what are the odds that there is a man with the same name living in the same area and having also the same or nearly the same year of birth? And even more remarkable, married to a woman with the same name, because later on we'll see that the name of the wife of this Bernard Kenny is also Doreen. So what are the odds? It is a very remarkable story. But the conclusion by some that this man died already in 2013, that conclusion is false. And that's what I'm going to prove now. But let us look first at the last names, because in the beginning I thought the name of this man was Kenny Bernard, so Bernard being the last name. But I was wrong, because I looked at other people who were on that website as well. And yeah, the question is this name Cabri Michael, like George Michael, or is it Michael Cabri? Well, we don't know. Both are possible, just like Bernard Kenny and Kenny Bernard, both are possible. But then I found one that is really distinctive, because that is this one. It's clearly not Janet, Sidebottom Janet, but it's clearly Janet Sidebottom. So we can rule out that. That means that the family name, the surname, is always mentioned first, and then the first name is mentioned last. Yeah, you can look it up yourself. Here are the URLs for each of those obituaries. The story came in the mainstream, I think, via mostly the article in the Daily Mail, and then the online version of the Daily Mail. And there we saw that picture, and that picture was actually a cutout, as I will show later on. But also this picture was there. And here he was at a wedding party of his grandson, which occurred in May of this year. So how can somebody die in the year 2013 and then show up at a wedding party in 2016 in May? That is clearly not possible. So there must be two different Kenny Bernards. One died in 2013 and the other one is still alive, now in the hospital. And there's another picture, a bigger one, where this one was cut out, and that is from the 2003 commemorating gathering. And that is this picture. Actually, what we see here was cut out from this greater picture, and that's why the resolution is rather low for this one. So this makes all sense, and probably this picture was taken in 2003, 30 years after the disaster, and allegedly or probably also on March 21. And I found another picture as well of the same wedding party, and I think this then was his grandson, George Kenny, who married Amber. And here you see pictures of the two as well. So allegedly or apparently they married in May 2016, and their grandfather, the grandfather of George, was there as well. Amber, I will come back to the name, and also the location is given. It was here in Tankersley Manor in Barnsley. That's where the wedding party took place. So can you give out so many details if it is all fake? I don't think so. And here we can see the name of the wife of the hero, Bernard Kenny, because it clearly states here, with his wife Doreen, 75. still alive, and his 2 sons. So apparently this Bernard Kenny and Doreen had 2 sons, while the other Bernard Kenny, sorry, I have to go back all the way here, the other one had only a daughter. Yeah, the much loved father of Helen and father-in-law Jonathan. Yeah, so this Bernard Kenny only had a daughter, while this one had 2 sons. But they both had a wife named Doreen. Very remarkable. And even more remarkable, there's another picture I found of him. His eye looks a bit silly, but I think it's the same man. Bernard Kenny, the one who didn't die. And there is a tweet, a very remarkable tweet by Jo Cox, talking about a teacher, a former teacher, also named Kenny. So this is getting more and more remarkable, the whole story. And guess who retweeted that tweet? Amber J. Kenny. Was that the Amber who married his grandson? I don't know. Maybe somebody who sees this video knows more than I do. Please contact me, then I can make another video. But this is all very remarkable, don't you think? This man, he names himself on the internet Kim Hokashian. Maybe he's a fan of the other Kim Kardashian. I don't know. I think it's a rather strange name. This is the code YouTube uses for his YouTube channel. And he uses this logo or this symbol. Yeah, he's not too happy about the European Union, and I can fully understand that. Me neither. So we don't know debate about that possible. But what I do not like about him, first of all, he doesn't show his face and he doesn't show his real name. So I don't think that's really brave. But he jumps to conclusions, and that's what I do not like. You can point out all the remarkable facts. That's what I'm doing here too. But don't jump to conclusion. Don't jump to the conclusion that the so-called hero already died in 2013, because that's not true. Yeah, there's another investigator. I assume that this is his real face. I'm not sure if this is his real name, but he's at least brave enough to show his face on YouTube. And I think we should not be afraid. We should show that we are real humans looking for the truth. We're all truth seekers, and we're all colleagues. And we all know that the mainstream media is lying big time, so we should be very careful in our claims, because it's very easy for the mainstream to call the alternative media a bunch of conspiracy thinkers or people who make up things, who draw wrong conclusions, because that's true. It happens a lot. There is so much disinformation. There's even more disinformation coming from the alternative media than from the mainstream media. Can you imagine? So we should actually do a much better job. And if you can contact me, either Kim or Russ or whatever your names are, please do so, because I think we should work together more closely. Jo Cox, what's in a name? Well, maybe there is this in this name. Joke and hoax. Who knows? Do the people in the United Kingdom choose to leave the European Union today? Will it be actually a Brexit? Well, I most certainly hope so, because I'm not too happy about the fascist regime that is called the European Union. There's no democracy, it's only wasting money, and it's not helping the people of Europe at all. It's doing the very opposite. So the more countries abandon this sinking ship, the better. Yeah, probably Finland will be next, and people talk already about Greece as well, Grexit, and maybe Netherlands too, Nexit, and other countries too, but I hope that this will collapse, that the leaving of the United Kingdom is the first step of the downfall of the European Union. I think that would be really good. Are they worried? Yes, you can bet they are worried. That's why the whole false flag event of Bristol was organized, to somehow create sympathy for remaining in the European Union, so that people will vote emotional and not with their brain, not with their minds, not by thinking, not from reason. Yeah, that's the whole idea. Will it help? Well, some are very critical about that too. Maybe it's possible that Britain today chooses to exit Europe, and I would really welcome that. But will that be able to stop the gigantic ship of the European Union, or is it already too late for that? Well, the future will certainly inform us about that. I thank you for watching this video. If you have liked it, then please share the link as far and wide as you can. And if you want, also subscribe to my YouTube channel. I thank you in advance for that. Namaste.